And welcome to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. Thanks for listening, and please continue to share, subscribe for more conversations on arts and culture, candid conversation on arts and culture. So today, I have the privilege of being in conversation. We're live, we're in person, not over Zoom. You know, today I'm chatting with a Baltimore native that creates the animated series called Charm Street. Please welcome Cory Whidby. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, we gotta bring in people. I mean, I know that animation, right? Because that's the lane that we're in. I know that animation is an area that it doesn't feel like people know a lot of, so I'm really privileged to really have this conversation, especially like local oriented animation.
Right.
Yeah. So before we get too deep in it, and we were already having the pre-podcast before the podcast, before we get too deep into it, I want to get an idea from you, your standpoint on what was it like growing up in Baltimore, and ultimately just getting it out of the way early on. How does it inform your work with Charm Street?
So, growing up in Baltimore was, I had a semi rough childhood, but I always had people around me that cared about me and would, like, family members that would look out and extend their arm. But so I'm from Baltimore. But I moved to the county early on.
I like when people make that distinction, by the way. Like, I'm from Baltimore, right? But I lived in Owings Mills for a while, bro.
Right. In my case, it was Catonsville.
You good. That's fine.
But, my roots. My roots in Baltimore, though. So,
it's the West Side.
Yeah, West Side Baltimore. But, growing up was pretty normal. I went to, like, county schools and stuff. I got 3 siblings. I'm the second to youngest. Like, it was just pretty normal. Nothing really stands out, really, to mention. That was like...
So, well, obviously, something's always going to stand out. You know, we all have our different things. We like normalize it, right?
Yeah, definitely. So,
what, from your experience, like, growing up here, kind of works itself into whether it's the writing, whether it's the types of stories, whether it's even the artwork, as to, I'm going to characterize this person this way.
Gotcha.
Where does that come from your background being here?
Okay, so that actually plays like the most important part in the show, because I used to make a lot of different shows early on, like, and a lot of the characters were white. And I used to always get crap for that, like in school and stuff. Why are you drawing white kids? I'm like, yo, it's just like... So anyway, after I got out of college, I started hanging with my friend from church, and we just started smoking weed together, like, just because I wasn't really out there until like after college. So I started drinking, partying, out all night, doing crazy stuff, just all over the place. And then eventually I kind of started getting my act together, but I was like, man, this stuff was really valuable though. Like these experiences that I'm having, like, and you don't see these experiences on TV. It's almost like what's the word? It's
almost unspoken.
Unspoken, yeah. Almost. Like these experiences. And the thing is, it's not that people don't have these experiences, you just don't see them. So I felt like, let me just turn these situations into a show, instead of trying to recreate these other shows, or trying to create this, like we were talking about earlier, like you want it to be authentic, you don't want it to come off as like you're trying to, be something you're not. So I was like, let me just do what I know and stick to what I know. And I had friends, like every day we were just crazy story after crazy story. I was like, these can be episodes. Like little conversations can be episodes. Like, for example, the character Black, the one everybody loved. Like, I got a friend named Black, and
everyone has a friend named Black.
Exactly. That's another reason too. And he acts just like that. Like everything he said was just funny. It didn't matter what he was saying. Yeah. He could be the most serious topic, anything, it'd just be funny as shit. So I'd just be like, yeah, let me make a character out of him. And that's really where that came from.
So give us the pitch for those who are undipped and don't know what Charm Street is. Give us that 15, 20-second pitch, just so we can kind of ground it, level set, and start again from there. What is Charm Street?
Charm Street is a show about 3 kids that just live in the city, and they just have these everyday experiences, but with a little bit of edge to them. Like It could be like I'm working on an episode now about them going to the store, the corner store. Like everybody just go to, your grandmother send you to the corner store, and they stealing out of there. Like little stuff like that. I just make an episode about it and put my own little spice to it. Stuff like that. Like I don't try to think too much about episodes. I just try to keep it simple because I think that's where the best writing comes from and the best material when you keep it simple.
I agree. I think simplicity is important. I think that simplicity gives one like a direction to kind of go off of, and you can start, inserting different things in there to kind of make it more wacky, make it more surreal, make it whatever. But I think if you can simply describe what you're trying to achieve and then add to that, then you actually have something.
Exactly.
Versus let's just put a bunch of jokes in there. Let's just see where it goes. So tell me about the process of writing and how does that come together, and then like maybe storyboarding or what that process sort of looks like. And if you can, I want to start off with this piece because I'm very interested in this. With something that is very digital, right? It seems like the work is obviously very, very digital. How much analog do you incorporate in? Do you keep a notepad to come up with ideas? Of, I remember this. Remember Black did this back in the day. Let me write this down. So tell me about that. Tell me about the process and if there's any analog sort of stuff within it.
Well, as far as my writing process, it's so unorthodox. It's no structure to it at all. I'm telling you right now. It's because I work on a full-time job. I'm an electrician. So a lot of my time goes towards that. So I'm at work and I'll just space out for a second and think about some stuff. I'm like, oh, that was nice. And like you said, I'll write it down in a notebook or something like that, little ideas. And then when I get home, I'll have to string them together, like all these ideas together to make a story. But for the most part, it's just literally just throwing things at the paper. Like I'll come up with something like, oh, that'll stick. That'll be a great episode. But it has to be something that I'm really interested in, because people throw me ideas all the time. But if I'm not invested in it, or if I'm not willing to work with it for like 3 weeks to a month or so, I'm not going to do it. Like I have to really feel it. Like that's why sometimes like episodes are longer than others, because I'm like, I can put something out, but I don't want it to just be anything, So, I don't storyboard. I don't do like animatics. That's like the rough animations and stuff. I just go balls in, balls deep, all in.
I was like balls in. I was like, yo, like wow,
just all in. Like first take. I usually don't have any deleted scenes or anything like that. I don't have time. Like recently, not recently. Like at first, I used to do like walk cycles and all types of stuff. I had my like a kind of a different style than I do now. It was a little more amateur, but it took a lot more time. And I realized, like, if I want to put these episodes out and for people to receive them in a decent manner, like, I got to cancel walk cycles. I recently canceled the lip sync. Like, I used to make the mouth shapes match everything that they would say and stuff. Now it's just kind of just open, close, open, close, open, close. Yeah. And they hop around. That's why a lot of people say it looks like South Park. I guess because it's like little kids and stuff, too. Yeah. But they hop around because I don't have time. Like, I can't make walk cycles for everybody, every character. Like,
So is that an influence at all, though?
Yes, definitely.
And so I think you keyed in on something, too, though. You don't have time. I think that it's a combination too, where you may not have time, but also it's like my process is what my process is. So I go back, and then I was sharing with you earlier how long I've been doing this, and I have an editor now, but back in the day, the first probably 10 years of doing this, I was the editor. So I was going through very early on looking for every and it was taking out the conversational tone and the flow of what we were doing.
Gotcha.
So it's like, for me to be a perfectionist is kind of nullifying what the intent of it is. And my process just came like, there's going to be some editing in this, but it's going to be minimal to kind of stick with the structure of this is a conversation. And for the listener, the audience, what have you, it's to be like, hey, you're observing a conversation between two dudes.
Gotcha. Yeah. And watching videos and interviews and things like that, I understand exactly what you're saying. You can tell when it's been edited and chopped to hell, like where it's just like, oh my gosh, like where did this come from?
Yeah.
But the whole time, like, they had a whole conversation leading up to this point, but they chopped everything out. Like,
and no one is ever that crisp.
Yeah.
Unless they like did a rehearsal for the conversation, and that just makes it contrived. It's like, oh, so Cory, let's talk about the conversation we're going to have before we record.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, let's keep it gully and authentic. Like, hey, I'm meeting you out in the street. I'm like, yo, come in here. We got a podcast to do, and let's see what we get out of it. So I feel like there's a version of you doing that with the content that you're at. So you're a one-man show, no?
Yes, definitely. I do everything myself: animation, writing, music, designing the characters, the backgrounds, everything.
Yeah.
Except, some other people do some of the voices.
I mean, you can't do all.
I can't do all of them. Like, there's certain ones I'd be struggling so hard to do. But for the most part, I do like 95% of the voices. Like Graham, Black, Trey, Dudley, the dad.
I mean,
I do pork chop sometimes, but my sister does.
Allegedly, there's a podcaster over there that has a voice that people seem to be familiar with.
Hey, man, I need all the voices I can get.
Black goes to a podcast.
Yeah.
So tell me about finding a creative niche. That's one thing that we're always kind of looking for. I think in part we're finding like what our strangeness is, if you will, kind of looking back on maybe those experiences and maybe getting something out of it. And I think you were touching on it a little bit earlier of, I know a guy that had this story, or I'm taking notes on different stories, or just out there living life, and ultimately bringing that into something that is a form of art or a form of media. So tell me about, like, why'd you choose to tell these sorts of stories in this sort of way?
I guess the best way to answer that is it just comes natural. I don't really deliberately choose to make it come out the way it does, if that makes sense.
Okay. But why animation, though?
Why animation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I've always been interested in animation and cartoons. Like, I've been making, even before I started animating back in 2009, but before that I was making like comic books. Like, actually, I would take the ruler, draw the squares and everything. I had Lizard Man, all types of...
Yo, they're drawing the panels. Oh, you gorilla style. I love it.
Yep. All the way back to, like, third grade, people would remember me for, like, the kid that drew. Like, I used to trace Pokemon pictures and stuff. And then I used to act like I drew them myself. They'd be like, oh, my God, like, yo, you can draw so good. And the whole time I'm just tracing them. But,
like, I'm just stealing, bro.
But, yeah, animation, I've always been interested in it. Like, for some reason, the best way to explain it, and this might make me sound kind of weird, but like, it's almost like you're creating your own world. Like, you can make anything you want. Like, you start with a white screen, and then by the time you're done, you have a whole world that you envisioned in your head, and it just comes to life almost in a way. So
That's legit. Yeah.
it's kind of cool. Like, you can... Like, I remember this one time, this is kind of not off topic, but a little tangent. I remember this one time, I get hit up for music videos all the time. People want cartoon music videos, and I usually just not interested because I don't have time.
Yeah.
So I did this one time, and this guy was like, yeah, so what do you want the music video to be about? And he was like, oh, I just want to be like, have me in the kitchen with some guns, some lean, some bitches, some weed, some the regular formula for a music video. I'm thinking, and this kind of goes into what I was saying, like how animation, you can create anything. I'm thinking you can be on the moon, you can,
and
know what I'm saying? You're choosing the trap house. You just go film in the trap. Like, what is you doing?
Like, put your Chef Boyardee hat on and film in the trap.
Right. So I just love the fact that you can just create anything you want, like your own world.
I like to look at that in the same way when I'm playing video games, right? I'm just like 6'9", like I got the wild hops, I got the wild wingspan if you like playing like some NBA joint, or it's like I'm like a running back that's like 300 pounds, and like Madden is like, yo, this doesn't work. This doesn't exist. Well, my game, it does.
Yeah. Put a 99 stat all the way up.
Oh, absolutely. It's just all Madden team all day. Yep. Powerful stiff arm, runs a 4-1.
Exactly.
So talk about your daily, or the cadence, if you will, of your creative routine, whether it is doing the voiceover stuff, like how often are you doing the voiceover component? How often are you drawing? How often are you writing? Tell me about like how you kind of plan out that work and and how that's done. Speak on that a bit.
Okay, so my creative process, this is what I usually do. So let's say I'm starting from scratch, a new episode. I got an idea. All right, cool. So I'll first start by drawing some backgrounds, like where are they going to be?
In the trap house, go on.
In the trap house with the leans, like I think they're going to be. So I'll arrange different shots. I'll draw props like chairs. I'll draw what are they going to have in this episode? Different clothes. Like that's the main thing I do first is just the way the episode looks, where it's going to be. Then I'll start doing voices. I'll in part of my writing process too, as well as instead of writing some things, like I'll write a dialogue out on paper, but when I go to perform it, it's just not natural. You know, it's just like I'm reading, or it's not how people talk. You know what I mean? So when I record, I'm almost writing as I record too, because I'll just improvise sometimes, most of the time actually. Yeah. And
well, this is an improv place we're in, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, so then after the voices, I'll start animating the shots. I usually do scene by scene, obviously. What else do I do? After that, let's say the animation is done, I did all the core animation, the main stuff. I'll take it into another program and then add the music, change the camera angles and stuff. So I'll have the core animation, but then I'll start panning and zooming and stuff like that to make it more interesting, because you don't want to just a still screen with just the animation might look cool, but if you don't have the close-ups far, you know what I mean, and make it look a little snappy. I'll do that.
You want to have some visual complexity to it.
Exactly. That's what a lot of my early work lacked. It was just, you would just look at the screen, they're talking and moving and stuff, but there's no depth to it. It's just so flat, like kind of like Beavis and Butthead sitting on the couch. You know what that looks like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're just sitting there, but it works for them though.
It's like looking at some of these old cartoons from like the 70s, and you're like, oh, you guys have run past this same thing several times. There's nothing new happening here. Yeah. I get you. And I think as you're doing it, and again, applause to you for doing animation for more than 10 years. That's another thing I forgot to even touch on that.
I appreciate that, man.
I think you get better. You're always tweaking. Are you a tweaker? Are you a person that's always looking to add something new to it?
Yes, not meth, but yes, I'm a tweaker.
That's phenomenal. Thank you. Add that in there, please. Make that episode. We're not doing meth. We're just tweaking, bro.
Yep, definitely a tweaker.
So, what is more important to you in devising and coming up with this formula for a new installment of Charm Street? Is it the style of how you're doing something? Is it the idea? Is it the story? What is the most integral or most important component of something piquing your interest? Like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. And let's say if you had all of the time in the world, because I know you're working under time constraints. So let's say whatever your normal time is, let's say you had double that time.
Okay.
What would be the most important, so you don't have the constraints, what would be the most important component of getting out, let's say, one installment of Charm Street?
That's a very good question. The most important part would be, I would say, the story. The story and the idea, they're kind of intertwined. The style, that comes later.
Yeah.
The script, that comes later. That all adds to the story. The main focus, that's why I say I like to keep it simple. The best thing to do, I think, is to get your story, like get a solid story, and then build from that. I'm not even gonna say story, because I guess the story you would have to say you have to have dialogue of beginning, middle, end. Not the story, the idea. I guess the idea is the best part, because for me to be interested in it, I have to see it in my head, like something.
I think I know what you're getting at, though. If the idea is the seed. And using the whole plant thing, right? If the idea is the seed, then that yields maybe the plant that's the story, and the story yields the fruit that are these different components within that story. But if you don't at least have an idea that you're solid with, then you can't even get to the point of even coming up with a story, because the story has all of these different parts that I need this many voice actors to do this, or I need this sort of, like, I don't know what you would bring in the software perhaps, but I need to use these colors or what have you, or this is the type of backdrop and scenery I want to do. If you don't have the idea, you got
that's
nothing.
all later.
Yeah.
It's the idea is the main, the most important part, the jewel of it. Like,
it's the thesis.
The thesis, yes. And I was I was in, like, I think 9th, maybe 10th grade, and I had reached out to one of the South Park guys, not the creators. It was an editor. Yeah. And
you got to go lower sometimes. Bro.
I don't want to drop too many any jewels on here, but hey, that's the way to contact people.
No,
you don't go
please
to
drop
the person.
jewels. Drop jewels. That's what we do here.
Well, if you want to meet or you want to talk to somebody, or meet somebody like you really are inspired by this person, or you're fanned out by them or something, or it's a girl you want to meet, never hit them. I mean, you hit them up directly first, and if it doesn't work, hit up somebody they're around. Hit up their editor. Hit up their I don't know, like somebody lower on the totem pole, so to speak. Because
they're too busy.
Yeah, they're too busy. They got people you got to contact to get to them, and if you just hit up somebody else or send them a DM or whatever, they might be sitting in a room with them. You never know. You know what I'm saying?
And often, if you go that high, like if let's say you're swinging for Trey Parker, Matt Stone or something, they probably have an assistant, and you're going to be relegated to the assistant.
Exactly.
So I think you're right, where if you can find an editor, creative director, someone in marketing or whatever, maybe outreach, in any of the spaces you're going into, see if you can connect with them and kind of be able to pitch it, because you touched on this with your own situation. You don't have the time, so they don't have the time.
They definitely don't have the time.
So if you can get like someone like, hey, I want to be able to pitch this to you. We got this guy, Cory, he's doing this, bing, bang, boom. Would you be interested? Sure or no. And it's a quick conversation versus it not being something that's even acknowledged.
Another thing too, with that editor I had reached out to, I asked him, I was like, so how do you make a successful show? I was desperate.
No, but that's a good question.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, how do you make a successful show? Like, I was working on some mediocre cartoons and stuff at the time. And he told me, he was like, well, I can't disclose
trade secrets.
Yeah, the secret. I'm under contract. I can't just give all this information out. But my best advice to you would be is to have strong characters. If you have strong characters, you can put them in any situation, and it'll be funny. It'll be Beavis and Butthead sit on the couch. Yeah, they don't do anything.
But with both of them, the way that their characterization and their characters are built out, you know what Beavis is going to say, you know what Butthead is going to say, and that's what he's touching on, I think.
Yep, like it just works. Like you can, not to crap on this show, but the Cleveland show, it doesn't work. The characters don't fit with this character. This is
because they haven't built it out.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Cleveland works.
Cleveland works.
Mostly, but he wasn't fleshed out in Family Guy, so they tried to build out him as his own thing, and they did it in a backdoor sort of way.
It was, I did not vibe with that show.
American Dad is a better show.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably than even Family Guy, if I'm being honest.
My sister loved American Dad.
I love American Dad, and I think it got a lot better once it stopped trying to be Family Guy.
Okay.
I think that's what happened with it, but I think once you build out a character, and even when people are doing, let's say, like, obviously there's a certain degree of contrivance here, right? Like, I'm Rob, you're Cory, or what have you, but we're both on a mic, we're presenting and then whatever, and people are ultimately going to listen on it. But people that know you very closely, people that know me very closely might have a different sort of thing. So, it's kind of like, what is the person's character? What are they presenting in what they're doing, maybe in a public way? It may be very similar to who they are privately, but there is some degree of performance there. But when you're presenting it and you're kind of all over the place, you haven't presented yourself as a strong character or strong, as they say, personality.
That makes sense, yeah.
I'm over here trying to drop facts like I know some shit.
Jewels on this podcast right here, I'm telling you, jewels.
What other art forms are you attracted to?
I like music. I like good movies. I haven't seen a good movie in 8 years. So it's like 9 years. Not 8 years, but I haven't seen I like movies, music, all types of art, man. Like paintings, anything really. My favorite, if I wasn't doing animation, I'd probably either do stop motion animation, which is like For the people that don't know, stop motion animation is like Nightmare Before Christmas, the clay stuff, like where you just kind of move, take a picture, move the arm, take a picture. Yeah, for the people that didn't know.
Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. But other than that, I'll just do probably music like everybody else.
Or even Robot Chicken a little bit, no?
Yep, Robot Chicken. Yep, definitely.
So this is the kind of the last question I have for these real questions, and of course you get the rapid fire questions too. I mean, you're here. Why wouldn't you get them? Imagine yourself in 3 years. I'm sure that's not hard for you. Use your imagination. You're working these stories, and imagination is a part of it. What do you hope will be different about your work in the next 3 years? And you're a tweaker, you're a tinkerer, so obviously I want to hear it.
That's a very good question as well. I want to have a team by that time. Definitely a team, because working by myself, you don't get the full spectrum. Like I'm just looking like almost with tunnel vision. I'll be able to pump stuff out faster, a lot faster. My work in 3 years, I want it to be more polished, better writing. I want it to be on a network or a streaming service somewhere.
This is a manifestation activity.
Yes,
you know that, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I just want I want it to be. I want it to be the best. Like my goal for my whole animation career, the final end goal, what I want to accomplish is, I want something like the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Na, na, na.
Like something iconic, something that years from now, it don't even have to be the show, it's just an episode or something that'll just resonate with people in every year, or it's a recurring thing that they'll watch it and be like, remember, let's turn this on, it's this time of year, or you know what I mean, like a Halloween special or something that just grabs people. I feel like that is like the most amazing thing, that people still watch the Charlie Brown specials and feel like special. At least I do. Like I
it
love
hits
it.
Generations.
Yeah.
That song, I remember I did a live podcast for Christmas one year, and it was two of the best moments, right? I was doing trivia in the middle of the pod, and that was the song, the Charlie Brown Christmas song that was playing in the background. So we were doing this trivia, and I had one trivia question. This goes into being able to be in your own spot and kind of do your own thing and let these ideas that are embedded in you, your story, your background, your interests. I had a reference to Rocky IV, which I really like. And it was just like, there's no easy way out. There's no shortcut home. And then the music kicks in. And I was like, yeah, that's fire. I was like, that was just for me, guys. That wasn't for anyone else here. That was just for me. So, yeah, it's just really cool when you're able to do that sort of stuff. And I think, as you touched on it, if you're able to continually get better and systematize what you're doing, you're on your way there.
Yes, man, definitely.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
Oh man, big things. I'm really pushing. Like right now, I'm pitching to some places, and hopefully I get picked up. That's like my main focus now. Like after I drop this episode, which will probably come out Sunday.
Yeah.
Just full blown. I'm pitching. Like I'm trying to get this out there, because I don't want to be in. I'll never lose these skills, but I'm not trying to do electric work for the rest of my life. Like it's construction.
There's some inherent dangers in there. Just
it pays well, but I'm not in it for the money. Especially with animation, I don't even make money doing it really, like at all.
You ain't got to make money doing this.
It's just a passion.
It's a passion. And it's able to kind of. I think for me at least, having conversations with creative people is better than not having conversations with creative people.
I understand.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to transition into the last few questions that I have here, which are the rapid fire questions.
Oh, rapid fire. Let's get it.
Don't overthink them.
Okay.
Because people do that. I'm going to start off with this one. What is your most prized possession?
My most prized possession is, don't overthink it. Time.
What were three of your favorite cartoons growing up?
Oh, this is good. Damn, I can't say South Park. I couldn't watch that growing up. Growing up, my favorite three cartoons, I'd have to say Rocket Power, The Simpsons, and one more. I would say Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Okay. What is your go-to snack?
Go-to snack. I like cookies. I love cookies.
What flavor cookies?
Chocolate chip, extra chunky.
You had me there, and then you unsold it. Damn
What?
it.
The chunky? You don't like the
I'm a chocolate chip walnut guy.
walnut?
Yeah.
I never
It's
heard
brain
of-
food, bro.
I never heard of that. A chocolate chip walnut cookie?
Yeah.
That sounds good.
You gotta get familiar. It's very good.
Where do you get those at?
Everywhere.
Wow.
I get them made. I mean, I have them brought to my trailer. You know, as a big star that I am. You know, just
See, I gotta get on your level. That's what it is right there.
salty or sweet. And I think I know the answer, but go ahead.
Salty.
Oh, okay. Being a black guy, I dig it.
Salty, yeah.
Lastly, if there was only one cartoon that you could watch for the rest of your life, which would it be?
And you said this can't be a rapid fire one. I gotta think about this one.
Nah, it's just
right.
we're looking for one answer.
One answer. Only one show for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I would have to say
Naruto. It's got a lot of episodes.
they got a lot of episodes on that one. I'd have to
One Piece. Also, a lot of episodes.
I guess I have to say South Park.
It's 20 plus seasons, so
Yeah.
it's not a bad choice.
Definitely, I love South Park. Not my favorite show. My favorite. You want to know my favorite
Yeah,
shows
spin
right
it.
now? My favorite shows right now. All-time 3 favorite of in this order: The Simpsons, South Park, and then Beavis and Butthead.
That's legit.
Yeah.
So with that, that's pretty much the podcast. I think that's a good place for us to stop. But I want to thank you for coming on to this podcast and spending the yarn with your boy, old Rob Lee here.
Thanks for having me.
And I want to invite and encourage you to tell the fine folks where to check out your work, website, social media, all of that good stuff. The floor is yours.
So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. That's my main outlets. Charm Street. Just type that in, and you should find me. So Instagram and Twitter, I have 2 T's in the street. Charm Street with 2 T's. Other than that, it's just Charm Street.
2 T's where? Because it's 3 T's. That'd be 3 T's.
2 T. Oh yeah, that's right. 2 T's at the end.
There you go.
And just for people that might get a little confused, I was Little America, but I had to change that name because of copyright issues. So I'm Charm Street now. Where it's Charm Street, that's the whole thing. And yeah.
So there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Cory Whidby for coming on the podcast and chopping up with old Rob Lee here. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there is art, culture, animators in and around Baltimore. You just got to look for them.